Hey, it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy and Ascension forecast for Sunday, July 23rd to Saturday, July 29th. Okay, so last week, let's unpack it. Holy hell, was that a doozy. We had that new moon in Cancer take place on Monday, Moon Day. And of course, the moon is in her rulership in Cancer energy. And you best believe that most of us had a little bit of a tough time navigating those particular emotional waters. That new moon at that 24 degrees in Cancer was definitely illuminating what it is that we have to close the door on as far as our family dynamics, as far as old weak boundaries go, as far as the, let's call it, old methods of maybe not taking care of ourselves the way that we should, in order for us to open a door on a brand new way to do all of the things that will build us a brand new foundation in our physical realm that will have us feeling a little bit more safe, secure, stable, not only in our emotions, but in our home environment. Again, a lot of home and family dynamics popped off in some big ways. A lot of that was triggered and activated under the full moon in Capricorn previous to the new moon in Cancer that definitely highlighted power struggles, control issues, and a lot of really failing family dynamics and failing methods in order for us to actually show up and take care of ourselves the way that we so easily show up and take care of others. Of course, that wasn't the only doozy of an event taking place that day. Just a couple of hours later, we had the nodes of the moon shift out of that Taurus and Scorpio energy into the Aries and Libran energy. This is definitely being felt, okay? We all feel like we're in a brand new territory of some sort. We may not have all the answers, we may not have the clarity, but something has definitely changed. We feel the dynamics changing. We may not be able to put our finger on it, but we just opened up ourselves to a brand new mission in life that many of us will be thrown into over the next 18 months of karmic life lessons coming at us due to the nodes of the moon shifting. Of course, this was the last week of Cancer season, the last week of Venus being direct. Of course, I'm coming at you live here Friday evening. If you're with me here in the chat, I want to thank you so much for being here. But even if you're not, just know that Friday evening, we are at the final degrees of the sun being in Cancer energy, preparing to take its place of power in Leo energy here tomorrow, just as we are standing in a state of paralysis, waiting for Venus, the goddess herself, to actually turn around and start moving backwards. Of course, a retrograde isn't that clear cut. It's just an illusion on the actual, moving backwards type of thing, but it's a big deal nonetheless. Venus going retrograde always has a major impact on who it is that we are, what it is that we love, who it is that we love, and of course, relationship dynamics are definitely going to be the most impacted element of our lives throughout the next couple of weeks of Venus going into the underworld. So, we're basically starting off this week with Venus going retrograde. And then a couple of hours later, we have Leo season kicking off. And we are going to be building to the first quarter moon that will be taking place in Scorpio energy. Yep, that's right. I said it. Scorpio energy. So a very deep, dark, intense transformation will be taking place emotionally speaking and in our physical realms around that particular time, which, by the way, is the 25th. And we are closing out Mercury's time in this Leo energy. Mercury will be moving into its other place of power in Virgo energy here on the 28th. So why that is important, first of all, let me just remind you, in the month of July, we had Mercury in 3 different signs. We entered into July with Mercury in Cancer energy. Thank goodness that was over because that was just an absolute emotional shit show. Then we had Mercury move into Leo, which it's still currently there, giving us a lot of big ideas and big thoughts and grandest types of conversations and this want, need, and desire to be seen and be heard and tell our story and really stand in our power and really kind of have these kind of open expressions, these heart to heart, so to speak. But with Mercury moving into its place of power in Virgo energy, you best believe that we are going to put the blinders on. We're going to focus on the here and now, what needs to be cleaned up, what needs to be cleared out, what needs to be built, what needs to be organized, what needs to be put into order. Heads up, Mercury will be retrograding in its place of power in this Virgo energy as we move into August. So it's going to, Mercury's going to be in its place of power for an abnormally long time because of the retrograde. Of course, you can go back, listen to the July energy forecast, especially the intro where I gave you the rundown on all the highs, the lows, the everything in between, just for you to understand how it is that we're closing out July, because of course this is the last full week of July, and what it is that we are kind of building towards as we're moving into August. And, in typical last week of the month fashion, I will be very, very busy and consumed with creating new zodiac forecasts for the month of August. And of course, to all of my VIP subscribers, you can expect your August forecast in your inbox in the next coming of days. So a very, very busy week. For me, anyways, ahead. But I think for all of us, we are definitely going to be shifting into a brand new energy. We're going to need a little bit more time to adjust and to acclimate to that. We are going to see a rapid pace of forward movement really take off in a lot of really exciting ways. And we are just going to be super happy to kind of dry up and dry off from all of this Cancer energy. It's been a very emotional time, very depressing time for many people. We are just oversaturated with emotion, with memory, with nostalgia at this particular point. And moving into Leo season, of course, a fire energy is going to dry us off real quick. It's really going to bring a playful energy back, an excitement back, a passion, a desire back. We're really getting aligned with our heart space. And so we can really expect a change in heart and a change in perspective, a change in momentum, a change in a path and a direction this week as we attempt to move forward. So before I jump into the Ascension symptoms for this week, first, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for liking, for sharing, for commenting. I want to thank you for dropping emojis in the comment section below. That's really helping the algorithm. I want to thank you for the love, for the support, for the patience, for the understanding, for all of it. I just want to thank you. I cannot express how grateful I am to have each and every single one of you here contributing to this beautiful community that we are building, mostly to remind each other that we're not alone and that we're not on this crazy train alone either. There's definitely a whole slew of us. We are definitely on the ride of our lives, and I couldn't imagine doing this with any other group of people other than you beautiful souls. So I want to thank you so much for being here and for all the love. So here's just a fun little thing that I decided to do. I don't know, maybe I'm tapping into the Leo energy a little bit early. I feel like I want to be a little bit semi-generous. I'm going to offer you a discount code for those of you who have not downloaded your zodiac forecast for the month of July. I'm going to encourage you to go over to my website. Use the code July2350 at the checkout. Get 50% off your zodiac forecast. I'm doing this because I think we are at a very pivotal point in the calendar. Although Leo season doesn't have very many astro events, and trust me, that's not a bad thing, July has some of the major events that we're going to be working on for the long term. And so I think it's important that you go ahead, you download your zodiac forecast, you take into consideration A, what has already happened, B, what is yet to happen, because we still have some events taking place here in July, and C, make notes on some of the aspects that have taken place in July, such as the nodes, such as the full moon and the new moon taking place in that Cancer and Capricorn energy, because that is setting us up for the next 2-year cycle. Take notes on Venus going retrograde, which she's about to do here tomorrow. That's going to be a major, major factor on what it is that we are going to experience. So if you've been doing yourself a disservice by bypassing the zodiac forecast that I put out every month for whatever reason, I really encourage you to take a chance on investing in yourself. Go ahead, jump over, use that discount code. Again, July 2350, and get your zodiac forecast half off. I really, really want you to do that. Also, I did kind of briefly mention that I did a whole astro class on this Venus retrograde. Like, we did a deep dive into what Venus's retrograde is all about and the archetypes of the energy, the feminine energy that she spirals through and her transition into the underworld and her metamorphosis, if you will, from a morning star to an evening star. And we broke down the 40-day retrograde and all the different phases that she goes through, which means that we're going to go through, and the rise and the fall of the feminine, light and dark energies that we're all going to be tapping into. It's a fascinating concept, a fascinating orbit, a fascinating pattern, a fascinating transit for all of us to really get a good understanding about, because this has a major impact on changing who it is that we are, changing the people in our lives, changing the structures, the values, the priorities in our lives, of our heart space, kind of letting go, purging the old, creating, really developing the new. There's a lot going on with Venus's retrograde, especially because it's taking place in this Leo energy, the heart and soul of the zodiac. So I definitely encourage you to jump over to Patreon, to become a subscriber, to do a deep dive in that particular astro class, because I really think it's going to be beneficial in the long run to kind of understand not only what's taking place right now, but the cycle, the cyclic nature of Venus in your chart and the areas that she aspects when she goes retrograde. So I thought it was a very interesting class. And I definitely welcome you, if you're into astrology, if you're into doing the shadow work, if you're into this healing journey and self-development, to jump on over to do a deep dive and really get informed on what it is that we're about to move into. The other thing I wanted to kind of bring to your attention is I have a lot of people about this time of the month reach out and say, hey, I want to book a session with you. I want to book a reading with you. I don't see it on your website. There's no appointment available. Where's your waiting list? Blah, 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 blah. I do appreciate it. I'm not trying to undermine that appreciation at all, but it does get a little bit repetitive. So I have to be a little bit repetitive and just say that the normal process is that the final days of the end of the month, I open up my calendar for the month ahead. I make it available to my VIPs on Patreon first and foremost before I let it go public. And let me tell you, those appointments go fast. And so the best thing that I can offer is there is no wait list. There is no way that I'm going to take money as a deposit and secure your position over somebody else's. I truly believe that the universe handpicks the people that I need to work with every single month. And therefore, if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you're definitely going to start checking my website for that calendar availability starting on the 1st of the month. And of course, most of those appointments do get snagged up by my VIPs, and I want to thank you all so much for doing that. But it's definitely a hot button topic in order to kind of snag yourself a spot. So for those of you reaching out asking why you can't seem to book a session with me, it's because I have no appointments available as of yet. And of course, we're moving into the last week of July, so you can expect that calendar to be available towards the end of next week. So I think that's all the homework that I wanted to address. Let's jump into talking about some of these Ascension symptoms. So first, what I just want to kind of throw at you is that anytime that we are leaving a energy, a season behind, and we're entering into new one, there's always this little adjustment period. I often, kind of visualize us like as the collective on a bridge. And, we were just on the little island of Cancer, if you will. And on that island of Cancer, it was pretty wet, pretty challenging. We all kind of whined and cried a little bit. We had no really other ways of sitting around and twiddling our thumbs and being nostalgic and reflecting back and telling stories with each other. And we had highs and lows of being the inner child, scared and raw and real and vulnerable. And then we kind of morphed into the adults that we wish would have come save us when we were kids. And then we started taking care of ourselves and nurturing ourselves and protecting ourselves. And then all of a sudden we slipped back into the inner child realm where the fears and the doubts and the insecurities were coming out full stop. And it's a scary thing to be stranded on a very emotional, reflective, nostalgic island such as Cancer energy. There's a lot of waves crashing. There's a lot of, fear coming up, of being vulnerable and not really knowing what's around the future, what's around the corner, so to speak. And then all of a sudden, we just started to see a bridge form And this bridge, many of us ran to this bridge over the last couple of days, and we're now on the bridge waiting for, the gate to open, if you will, so that we can start walking across the bridge and find ourselves on the island of Leo, the jungle, if you will. Well, it's a beautiful change of pace. Let me just tell you that, okay? We're moving out of a water sign into a fire sign. So the emotions that we've been sitting in, the depressive funk that we've been sitting in, that fire energy is going to dry it all up. It's going to dry it all up. It's going to get us in a perfect position to kind of realize that, yeah, okay, we might have been challenged on the old island. Yeah, we were kind of scared for our well-being, for our existence on that island. But this island is a little bit more cushy. This island has a lot more resources. This island is a lot more fun. It's a lot more playful. We have a lot of exciting things going on. And what we're going to be encouraged to do in the Leo energy is to tap into the inner child, not the wounded one that we were supposed to be healing in the Cancer energy, but the playful one, the creative one, the unique one. In Leo energy, we have to return back to our heart and soul, to our unique individualism. We don't want to fit in. We don't want to be part of the crowd in Leo energy. We want to stand out. We want to be unique. We want to show people where it is that we've gone through tough love life lessons, where it is that we've gained some battle scars, and where it is that we are proud as F for the amount of I'm going to say tough love life lessons that we've been able to navigate through. While we're on this lovely island of Leo energy, we are really going to get silly. We're going to get playful. And maybe it's because we're in a delusional state of just being on these islands and not knowing what is coming next. But nonetheless, we are all going to tap into a more playful energy, a playful vibe. Really get to know ourselves again. There's something very interesting about kind of being put in certain situations and circumstances where we get to kind of strip away our ego selves and really get real and raw and authentic, really aligning with our heart space, aligning with our individual skills and talents, our individual stories, our thoughts, our ideas, our emotions, our experiences. This is going to be a hyped up time. Now, I don't want to overinflate it too much because realistically speaking, we have all of these planets and Mercury soon to join them in retrograde. So there is a lot of reflection back, but that doesn't mean that we can't have fun with it. That doesn't mean that we can't be real with it. That doesn't mean that we have to kind of sit in the funk and just fall apart over and over and over again. What we're realizing is our strength. That's the number one quality and characteristic that we can all learn from Leo season, is where it is that we have been tough as effing nails. What we've had to go through, what we've had to grow through, what we've had to feel, what we've had to heal. We are building ourselves up in a brand new way. And especially with Venus going retrograde, this is like us kind of getting real and raw and vulnerable with who it is that we've become and whether or not we like the version of ourselves and what we kind of have to change in ourselves, in our lives, in our heart, in our physical realms, in order for us to be creating a realm that looks good and feels good in alignment with our heart and soul space. So this is going to be a very interesting time. So just imagine us right now, like at the foot of the bridge. We're still on a Cancer island at this point. And again, I'm coming at you here Friday evening. So I'm speaking in reference to that. It will be kind of late Saturday evening before the gate is lifted and we're actually able to walk over the bridge. And when we start walking over the bridge, long before we even get to the Leo island, that's when Venus is going to go retrograde. She's going to start going retrograde by the time we're on the middle of the bridge. And what's going to happen is that many of us are going to stop and look back at the Cancer island and say, oh man, that wasn't fun. Didn't feel good there. Yeah, I suppose I did learn a couple of things, but it was very painful to do. But geez, maybe we should go back to the Cancer island because we don't know what to expect on the Leo island. So many of us are going to be in this very, I'm going to say, fear-based state of paralysis on the bridge as we're contemplating, do we want to go into this new brave world? Do we want to get real and raw and vulnerable with our heart space? Are we strong enough to move into the island of Leo and kind of dive into new matters of the heart? Or are we going to be so attached to the pain, to the trauma, to the nostalgia, to the way that things were? Even as uncomfortable as they may have been on that Cancer island, many of us will choose to go back there, okay? Now, for us activated ones, we don't really have a lot of choice in going back. And let me just say, for those of you that are going to kind of stay back on the Cancer island, well, the majority of us move into the Leo island until we send a signal that everything is good and everything is safe. There is going to be a lot of overlap, a lot of holding on to, if you will, of the experience, of the pain, of the trauma, of our thoughts, of our memories, everything that we just experienced through Cancer season. There is going to be an element where we hold on to certain parts of that, even though we wished we didn't experience it in the first place, okay? And that's just how our egos work. We hold on to pain and trauma, we kind of mold it into our identity, and then we make excuses of why it is that we can't do the things that we should be doing, mostly because of the experience that we're coming out of. So when we actually move into this Leo energy, first of all, like I said, we're going to get dry. The water weight that many of us have put on, that's going to dissipate. The congestion that many of us have been feeling in our physical bodies, that's going to dissipate. The emotions, I'm not going to say the emotions are going to dissipate, but they're definitely going to transform. And again, I always talk about, things getting emotional and everybody thinks it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to be an emotional person. There's a whole range, a whole slew of positive emotions. But the minute that I say, oh, we're in for an emotional time, everybody thinks, oh no, crying and anger and drama and blah, blah, blah. No. We have to understand that there is good and bad, light and dark on every spectrum in every realm. We are about to have an emotional experience of growth, of identity, of passion, of excitement, of desire, of being real and raw and vulnerable with ourselves. And that is nothing that any of us should want to run away from. So, the heaviness that we've been experiencing on our chest through Cancer season, a lot of that was the heart activations, but a lot of that was like the depressive funk. That is going to get lighter, but at the same time, there's still going to be an intensity on our heart space. There are going to be heart activations because we are essentially breaking out of the funk and using the funk to empower us. So it's just a different change, if you will, in intensity when it comes to our heart space. Now, a lot of that heavy chest that we've been experiencing has been triggering coughing fits. There's phlegm, there's congestion in our physical bodies. There's water in our bodies due to that Cancer season energy. So this little transitional period going from Cancer season into Leo season, we're likely going to take a coughing fit. We're likely going to have these heavy chest heart activations in order for us to get the phlegm out, to get the congestion out, to clear our heart space, if you will, for a brand new season, a brand new cycle. A lot of that comes in with the throat chakra because, again, Mercury rules over the head space and rules over the throat, seeing as we are here to communicate and truly express ourselves. We talked last week about the scream therapy. I want to know, drop me a line in the comments below. How many of you actually took the time to consciously address your throat chakra and screamed on the top of your lungs? And if you did it, where did you do it? And if you did it and where you did it, how did you feel afterwards? I want to know. That is a big deal, my friends. We talked about it in last week's Ascension forecast, and I really hope that you did take the time out at some point this week to scream, to get that energy out of your body. This is essentially the roar of the lion. Not only is Mercury in this Leo energy, and again, not for much longer, up until the 28th, until Mercury moves into Virgo energy. But being in Leo season and having this overlap of Mercury being in Leo at the same time that the sun is in Leo, this is a good time to exercise that throat chakra. We're going to have some heart-to-heart conversations. We're going to express our thoughts. We're going to tell some stories. We want to be seen. We want to be heard. We're semi-entertaining. We're very playful. We're a little bit dramatic. There is a certain air about us that wants to be extroverted, right? The sun is an extroverted energy. Leo is an extroverted energy. We want to kind of leave our mark, leave our print on the world. That's why in Leo energy, we're encouraged to be our unique individual expression of self, of soul. And in order to do that, we got to get real and raw and vulnerable with our heart space, with who it is that we are, with what it is that we want to say. What do we want to do? What do we want to pursue? How do we want to leave a mark on the world around us? So this is definitely going to be a very interesting time to see that clearing take place in our chest, in our coughing, in our throat, in our words, and how it is that we're going to express ourselves, get some things off of our chest, so to speak. This is definitely the time that we need to do it. So like I had mentioned, the water weight, the puffiness, that extra oomph that we've been putting on through Cancer season, a lot of that was because many of us are still emotional eaters, okay? So let's just understand that now the lion eats good, right? The lion, he has a tasty treat. He's not eating to cover up his emotions. He's eating for survival. So we're definitely going to see a major shift in our cravings, in our digestive issues, in the amount of food that we're willing to put in our bodies, what that actually may be, because our taste is changing. Now, speaking about taste, we did have a weird spit taste going on last week. Well, this week, my friends, it's that whole mouth film again. So here's the thing, and I hate to get gross here, but guess what? Humans are gross, so let's do it. When you're about to get sick and like puke, right? And your mouth fills up with like that really weird, watery, consistently spit, and it just doesn't taste good. And then maybe you get sick and there's like this film, this chalkiness that you just can't get rid of, no matter how much you brush your teeth or what you eat or what you kind of drink. That is very much a sensation that we're going to be moving into in this little adjustment period. It is definitely going to have a major factor on our inner realm because, again, we're getting real and raw and vulnerable with ourselves. There's a recalibration, a realignment to the heart space that is needed and that we will be going throughout Leo season. And so, just kind of understand that our inner dynamics are changing. And what I also want to say is that Leo season tends to be a little bit hot, tends to be a little bit dramatic, a little bit spicy, if you will. Many of us are going to kind of orient ourselves to be eating those types of foods, those types of substances. We want hot, we want spicy, we want a reaction, we want to sweat, we want to cleanse, we want to purge, we want to get our physical bodies removed of the funk and gunk that we built up in Cancer season. And so although the cravings might be for hot and spicy things, we also have a craving for hot and spicy and semi-dramatic situations and scenarios. Now, oftentimes you may hear astrologers say that Leo energy is attention seeking. Well, that sounds like a little bit of a negative thing. We kind of look at attention seeking as a problematic mental health state. What it really is us being tired of dimming our light and us being tired of playing it safe and us being constantly bombarded on why it is that we should just fit into a mold, the conformity of society, instead of standing out and dancing to the beat of our own drum. So it's not necessarily a negative for us to be looking for attention. We deserve attention. We have something to say. We have something to share. We have ourselves to share. We need each and every single one of us walking the face of the planet right now to align with our heart space, to be real and raw and vulnerable with ourselves, to align with our higher selves, to be the best version of ourselves that we could possibly be, the truest form of our soul's expression that we could possibly embody. That, my friends, is how we create New Earth. Now, are we all going to do that? No, but a good chunk of us are. The most important ones are, which is the light workers, the grid keepers, the anchors of light. These people, which you probably are if you're listening to me, these are the people that change the vibration, that hold the vibration down, that give the other sleepers an opportunity to raise their vibration and frequency, because we're the ones that are setting the example of the light that we all need to embody. So it's not that we're essentially attention seeking in a dramatic, looking to fight, looking to create chaos kind of way, as it is like we're a beautiful thing. We're a beautiful flower. I want you to think about the time that it takes for a seed to actually sprout, to break through the soil, to actually grow up throughout the soil, build itself up to a beautiful stem, that has beautiful petals. Now, I want you to think about the time and the energy that it takes in order for that flower to open up, to actually blossom, to actually bloom. you're going to want to show yourself off. We just went through a huge growth period, my friends. It is time to show people who it is that we are, what it is that we've been through. It is time to display our battle wounds, our battle scars as a badge of honor, as a badge of pride. Okay, this is a true momentum of our strength. And there is a difference on wanting to stand out, wanting to be heard, wanting to be seen because we're proud of what we've accomplished, and wanting to be heard, wanting to be seen because we have, self-worth issues and we need other people to say that we're beautiful and that we did such a good job blossoming. When you're looking for external validation and credit, that is the negative situation of attention seeking. When you are just proud as F to be alive and to be still trucking through all of this pain and all of this drama and all of this struggle, and you've done so much work on yourself and you're proud of who it is that you are and what it is that you've accomplished, you stand out, you glow, you attract attention that you don't even intentionally go looking for. And it's all of our times to stand out, to stand up, to stand apart from the group so that we can all be really seen and heard and acknowledged for the beautiful, unique, individual flowers that we all are. So yeah, there can be some drama with that because you're always going to have people that are erring more on the side of ego than they are on higher self. But at the same time, how other people are operating is none of your business. All you need to be concerned about is your own self, your own energy, your own embodiment of the best qualities that you could possibly embody in this version of self. So there's definitely going to be some interesting dynamics pop off. Now, here's an interesting concept that I want to throw your way. Normally, in Leo energy, we see romance really kind of spark up. Why? Well, because it's the peak of summer. Everybody's kind of having fun. Everybody just wants to kind of, be fun and flirty and, being in the heart and soul of the zodiac. You tend to attract people of the same vibrations and frequencies. The interesting dynamic that's going to take place that is totally going to, I'm going to say, quote unquote, semi-ruin Leo season for the potential of romantic encounters is the fact that Venus is retrograde in Leo energy. This is not a time for new romance. This is not a time for new levels of commitment. This is not a time to initiate anything new where relationships are concerned. This is a time to kind of review the people, the situations that you currently have going on. So it's going to kind of be an interesting dynamic because there's still going to be people that are drawn to each other and they're going to have like this midsummer fling romance. And then as soon as Venus goes direct on September 3rd, it's going to be like I'm sorry, why was I attracted to you? I'm sorry, where did you come from? Why do I care about you? And this is why I say, please go ahead and listen to all the information that I put out about Venus's retrograde, because we're not going to be the same people, nor are we going to have the same people still around, still in our lives when Venus end up going direct. There's a lot of things that we should not be engaging in, that we should not do, that we should not start, that we should not initiate. And love and romance is one of them. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic as well. We're also going to learn some tough love life lessons in impulse control. Why? Well, because it's a fire energy. Fire energies have a tendency to act first and think later. And although sometimes it is a beneficial thing for us to act on impulse and take a little bit of a risk, this is not a time to be doing that. Why? Because we have all the planets in a retrograde. We are looking back in order to figure out how to move forward, my friends. And therefore, it is just going to be a very tricky thing for us to kind of, put up a little bit of a barrier, a little bit of a boundary on how it is that we're taking action on our impulses, especially when they're heart activations. Like when something happens and you just know that you have to do it or you have to say it or you have to have it, well, that's a hard thing to kind of fight with, right? And seeing as we now have the North Node in Aries energy, Mars rules over that Aries energy. You want to talk about impulse control that we absolutely have none of in that particular energy and aspect. We're really going to have to pace ourselves. We're really going to learn tough love life lessons in energy management. So let's just kind of understand that we want to adopt the inner child when it comes to play, when it comes to creativity, when it comes to being silly. It's time for us to have some fun, guys. And I know that this healing and ascension journey is very hard. It's very tough. It's very painful, but we all have the ability to create fun, to create happiness, to create joy, to tap into that inner curiosity of the childlike perspective that we all need to have in order to open ourselves up to ask the right questions about the things that we would never even think about asking when we're in our adult, serious mind frame. Okay. So, creativity is a big thing. Children have an imagination that us adults learn to kind of get rid of because people tell us that it's not okay to live in imaginary land after a certain point of being, growing up, if you will. Well, the Leo energy encourages us to really tap into that creative realm, to really tap into new inspirations, new passions, new excitement, new desires. Those are all heart activations. So I'm going to really invite us all to tap into our inner child, to be fun, to be silly, to be playful. That giddiness, those laughing fits are going to come back for us here in Leo energy. We all want a belly laugh, okay? We all really want to tap into the silliest part of us and really bring that high vibe energy back. So yes, there are going to be some heart-to-heart conversations that need to be had throughout Leo season. Now, granted, with Mercury in Leo for the first couple of days, that's definitely going to open things up to be a little bit more real and raw and vulnerable. I don't see us being that open and that vulnerable when Mercury moves into Virgo energy because there's a seriousness about that. We have to be logical and practical, and we really only kind of express ourselves if it's a problem that we absolutely need to solve or fix. So there is a very small window of opportunity this week to kind of give yourself permission to verbal vomit. Whatever it is that you've been biting your tongue on and holding very close to your heart space and not really wanting to speak about, get it out. Okay, if you need to scream and do the scream therapy, go ahead, but I would prefer that we are all mature enough at this point and have enough clarity within ourselves to understand what it is that we really need to get off our chest, what we have to have a conversation about, where it is that a heart-to-heart is needed in order for us to clear the air, to clear the space in some of the relationship dynamics. And this plays in part and parcel with Venus's energy going retrograde, really whittling out who and what no longer has a place, a value, a spot on our priority list in the here and now. And a lot of those conversations are going to lead to an illumination on where it is that you stand in the eyes of other people and whether or not they are deserving enough for us to continue to pour our time and energy into. So anytime that you feel like you have to get something off of your chest, do not be concerned with the way that your truth is received. Just get it out of you. Get it out so that we can work with it, so that we can figure out how it wants to manifest, so that we can talk about it, sort it out, fix it out, or let it go entirely. So because we're in Leo season, because we're being encouraged to kind of be our unique individual selves, many of us may actually have some very unique and individual experiences due to the Ascension symptoms popping off this week. Now, we have, for the most part, been going through these Ascension symptoms as a collective. But because we're really kind of moving inward and really trying to figure out where it is that we need to step away and stand away from the crowd, we may be going through experiences in this healing and ascension journey that maybe the collective isn't experiencing at the same time as us. This is a point in time throughout the zodiac wheel. I just want to go on this little rant for a second here. This is the point in time in the zodiac wheel where from Aries season up until now, we've been developing our ego. We've been developing who it is that we are in this life form, how we assert ourselves, what is important to us, how we build and grow, how we think, how we express ourselves, what means the most to us, where we have to build roots and solid foundations in order for us to feel safe and secure. And then here we are in the Leo energy, the heart space. Now, what we're doing here is we're taking those collective lessons back from the spring, essentially, and we are squishing them together to see how this new identity is being formed. Once we move out of Leo season, we move into Virgo season. That is when we perfect the identity, the vibration, the frequency, our unique individual selves that we're going to be finding out who it is that we are and what it is that we love and who it is that we love and all of those lovely things here in Leo season. We're going to be perfecting that, reorganizing it, restructuring it through Virgo season as we perfect and prepare to share it with the world, which we will do when we move into Libra season. And then from Libra to Pisces season, then we kind of see who it is that we are as an individual in relation to the people that we share space and time and energy with, and the collective out there in the world where we connect to everything and connect at nothing at the same time. So this is a time for us to get heart aligned, heart centered, heart anchored in order for us to realize what sets us apart, where it is that we were meant to stand out, to shine our light in a way that doesn't really look like how other people shine their light. It's not for us to be like-minded. It's not for us to have the same experiences through Leo season. It's our unique experience that sets us apart. And we all really have to stand very strongly in having those unique experiences, regardless of whether or not other people are experiencing it, or, and let me throw this one at you, this is going to be an uncomfortable topic and theme for some people, where you can't look outside of yourself and to other people for the validation of the experiences in which you're having. And I say that because many of us, although we are working on our intuition and really leaning into trusting ourselves and only ourselves, there is this element where, you know, people come and listen to these forecasts just so that they understand that they're not the only ones going through it, so that they can get validation and confirmation of their own personal journey, their own personal experiences through me, through you, through the comment section. Now, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but what I'm saying is that we become less and less attached to whether or not our experiences are being confirmed and validated by other people. We really don't care. We have a drum. We're beating on the drum. We're dancing to the beat of our own drum. We really aren't looking around to see if anybody else is dancing, if anybody else has their own drum, if anybody else is having their own experience. We don't care. We only care about self. And that's why it can be a dangerous territory for Leo season if you haven't done the work, because you can be really stuck in ego, self-absorbed, very vain, only concerned about yourself. There is a certain line that you can't cross into that self-indulgence. You do have to balance it out with the higher self, with the soul self, with the spirit self. And therefore, although our experiences are unique to us as individuals, we do kind of have to understand where the boundaries are needed so that I only care about me. I only care about my experience. I don't need you to validate it for me. That I don't care so little about connecting with other people that I just create an island where it's just me on this Leo island by myself. So there is some balancing there. As far as the fire energy goes, I would say that we are going to have some temperature fluctuations that are going to err more on the side of being hot and sticky and sweaty and kind of feverish, with like high blood pressure and heart activations that have rapid heartbeats, and really put us in situations to show ourselves, I guess, our emotional strength, our mental strength, but physical strength, considering the fact that the sun is in his rulership. The sun shines a bright light on our ego selves, on the human physical body that we have and how we actually express our soul, our spirit, our vibe, our frequency. And so there is this element where we're going to run kind of hot, if you will. We want to make sure that we're not running on the side of hotness that has us angered or, you know, in those types of not so nice emotions, although they're likely to pop up with some of the situations that will be taking place, with some of the aspects popping off through Leo season. But just know, like, we're moving out of the water energy where we were on the side of coolness, if you will. We had cold feet, we had cold extremities. We couldn't keep a moderate, energy flowing through our body. We were kind of congested, and a lot of the temperature fluctuations were on the cold side. Well, now we're moving into the fire, guys. This is a fire season. It's a fixed fire season, which means that we're here to stabilize. Fixed energy wants to strengthen and stabilize the things that we know that are working, remove the debris of the things that aren't. We're not really initiating anything new. What we're doing is we are identifying who and what is deserving of the energy, time, and effort that we're about to pour into building ourselves up, stabilizing and strengthening who it is that we are, what it is that we love, and who and what we want to be a part of that vision, a part of that goal. So there are a lot of changing factors, and that just naturally comes when we're changing of seasons. And of course, we have, like I said, there's not a lot of astro events taking place in Leo season. And of course, next week you can expect a whole August 2023 energy forecast from me with those zodiac forecasts as well, so that you know where it's taking place in your life and how that's going to affect you in the long term. But just know that we have a little bit of time to acclimate. And the most important thing, especially as we kind of cross this bridge this week, is to just understand that we're moving into new territory, that there's nothing to be afraid of, that this island is actually more safe and secure and stable and fun and playful and resourceful than the island in which we're leaving, and that we're all about to get heart aligned and we're all about to have a little bit of fun, which we all very much deserve. So guys, I think that's all that I have to share as far as the Ascension symptoms go. I want to thank you so much for being here. I want to thank you for your time, for your energy, for your presence. I want to thank you for showing up for me, but mostly I want to thank you for showing up for yourself. I hope you have a beautiful transition into this Leo season. I hope that you do a deep dive and do all the work necessary in order to use this Venus retrograde to the best of your ability and to your advantage. And of course, I hope you have a great week. And even more than that, I'm sending you nothing but love. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.